Hey, you guys, welcome to A Deeper Look with Lisa Nicole Alexander, where we touch on everything domestic violence. My beautiful guest, beautiful, by the way, is Miss Eboni Montsho today. She is an advocate, a survivor, and she is the purpose pusher, you guys. So I'm excited to have her be on the podcast today, pushing you into your purpose. Hey, Eboni.
Hey, Lisa Nicole and Miss Alexander.
Hey there, how are you? I'm so glad you're here.
I am well. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
Listen, the purpose pusher is here. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes,
so if you have been stuck, if you have been just not trying to figure out where life is taking you, what God to put you on this earth to do, we've got the passion, we've got the purpose pusher in the house, you guys.
Yes,
so
I love it.
I'm going to have you touch on some stuff today, but let's start with your story as a survivor. Let's start with that.
Okay, so I won't say currently am, but I was in a domestic violence relationship from the age of 13 until the age of 25, actually.
And same person?
No, actually, and that was so tripped out about it because it seemed like for a while I was attracting only abusers. You know, I was in the first relationship for about 3 years, and it was my son's father. So of course, you know, I'm young, like I said, 14. And then from there, it went to my next kid's father, because I have 3 kids, 2 baby daddies.
Okay.
Yes, girl. So, and then after that, the next relationship I was in, it wasn't physical violence, but it was emotional and it was mental. So over the span of 11 years, it was 3 different relationships, but they all were, I was abused in some shape, form, or fashion. So the first 2 was physical and verbal, and then the last one was more emotional and mental.
Wow. So you were a young girl. You were a teenager.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I had my first son when I was 14. And so, I was in a relationship with his dad, and it was quite the relationship, I must say. You know, I always tell the story about the worst beating that well, of course, you remember them all, but the worst one to me was the one that left me with 4 knots on my head. It was like I thought that my head was a square instead of round because I had a knot on every corner. Wow. I had a Nike sign in my back from where he had just been kicking me with his gym shoe on, and it left the Nike swoosh sign in my back. I mean, busted my lip, my eye. It was bad, and left me in our hallway in our building, and just left me there bleeding. It was horrific. So
how old were you?
I was only 15 at the time.
Wow. So yeah. Like I was talking to Whit earlier. Whit Devereaux. She's awesome.
I love her. That's my baby.
And she talks about experiencing domestic violence as a teenager.
Yes.
And so how was it as a teenager? You're getting beat up physically by this man. What are you thinking at 13, 14 years old? What's happening in your mind as a child?
Right. And so for me, I believe that a lot of the reason why I accepted it, first of all, is because I grew up without my biological father being a part of my life. Mm-hmm. And so I yearned and longed for some type of mental stimulation from a man, some type of love, some type of physical touch, some type of girl, you're cute, I love you, so I had a void in my life and in my heart for that father figure, so to speak. So I found myself very, very, very promiscuous. Okay. And I found myself just accepting whomever. Like if you said I was cute, or if you said, girl, you think you got that big booty, if you said any of those things, it was like, yes, he for me.
Wow. So the self-esteem was a big deal for you.
Yeah, okay. Very, very low self-esteem. And that void was there, and just feeling like I wasn't worthy or I wasn't enough, right? Because a lot of my mental state was, well, if my dad rejected me and didn't want me and he abandoned me, then Why? So that means that I can't be too worthy of anything more than this. Like, that's the way you feel at that time. Like, I'm not worthy of anything more than what I'm receiving right now because my own dad rejected me. So it was low self-esteem. It was abandonment issues. It was rejection issues. Yeah, all of those things, low self-confidence, all of those things played a part in it.
Wow, that's big. That's a big. Ooh, are you hearing the echo? No, it's just me.
No.
Okay, so that's a really big chunk of something that you said. I just want to take a minute and kind of go to the side a second. Can you talk to a teenager who may have not been raised by their father and has that same void that you had growing up, and it called you to go in a specific way in your life? What would you say to that teenager right now who's experiencing that?
So first of all, I would tell her to pick up the copy of a book that I am a author on. It's called Dear Daddy, A Letter from a Successful Businesswoman. And it is a compilation of 10 women who came together, who all grew up without their biological fathers a part of their lives. And we all tell our stories of void and how we use that to be able to overcome and still become successful, right? And so I would tell that teenager that just because your father or mother or parent, just whomever, right? Because sometimes it's not just the dad, sometimes it's the mom as well. So whatever parent that was not a part of your life, you have that void, that feeling of low self-esteem. I would tell them that you are still worthy, that you are still awesome, you are still amazing, that does not define who you are. Your past does not define where you will go in life. Only you have the power to be able to say what you are going to be in life. So dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and don't be afraid to do the work, because we all have work that we need to do in order to be the person that God has called and ordained us to be. So just because your father or your mother didn't want you, that does not mean that God does not love you and that he doesn't have a place in his kingdom for you. You are still kingdom worthy, and you are still a child of the Most High. So God is out there. He has his arms stretched open wide, and he is waiting for you to realize and recognize that he is the best father and the best mother that you could ever have.
Yes, I told y'all I had the purpose pusher on here. I told y'all that, didn't I? And I agree. Go.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, I tell when I go to high schools and when I go to different elementary schools and I speak to the youth, I tell them to make sure that they get themselves an affirmation statement, right? And make sure that they get up every single day and make sure they say it, look themselves in the mirror and they say their affirmation statement. And I leave them with mine and tell them, hey, you can copy mine, you can use mine, or you can come up with your own, but mine is mirror, mirror on the wall. I'll always get up whenever I fall. And whether if I have to walk, run, or crawl, I'll set my goals and I will slay them all. So you can say mine, you can get your own, whatever you need to do, but talk to yourself every single day, because if you don't, those negative thoughts will begin to take over and they'll take control of your mind and take control of your life. But we have to be able to combat them with something positive on a daily basis.
That's it. Combat it with the truth. You're exactly right. I love that. We're going to go back to the affirmation statement toward the end too. Also, we're going to touch on doing the work, but I wrote that down so we can touch that later, because I think that people want to skip over the work. The work is work. No one likes to go to work, but
that's
work.
Right.
We'll talk about that in a second. So you had a baby at 14.
Yes.
And then what happened after that?
And then after that, I stayed in that relationship actually until I was 17 years old. I finally got the strength after another physical attack happened, and I got the strength to be like, okay, you know what, this is it. No more. I cannot take any more of this. I ended that relationship, and he still was a part of his son's life, which I guess was good on his part. Because, you know, a lot of times dads be like, well, if I can't have you, then I don't want the kid either, you know? So I can say that positive thing about him. And then I went on and I met my next kid's father, and we were together actually for a lot longer, for about 6 years. And that relationship, I had never been around anybody before that was on drugs, so I didn't recognize the signs or didn't know what a drug addict looked like. You know, of course, I seen people in the street, but not close enough in my immediate circle for me to be able to say, oh yeah, that's what a drug addict do, or those the signs of what they say or how they respond or how they act. So after we had moved in together and had this what I thought was a thriving relationship, I soon found out that he actually was a drug addict. He was addicted to heroin. And you know, things began to just slowly decline over time. And just with that, with him being addicted and his withdrawals and the times that he didn't have money or couldn't get, you know, to the city, because we lived in the suburbs, couldn't get to the city to get his next fix. Those were the times when the physical abuse and the verbal abuse would occur, you know, because I had a car, he didn't. So if I didn't give him my car, then of course all HELL broke loose, you know. He would steal my food, because back at that time, we had food stamps. You know, you get the link card now, but before you had the food stamps. So I would try to hide them, and he would steal them. And I mean, we would fight and fight and fight. And by now, you know, I had made up in my mind after a couple of years of abuse, I'm like, you know what? Hey, we about to fight this thing out together, because I'm not about to let another man, you know, beat on me like this. But I mean, it was bad, you know. And we even used to fight when I was actually pregnant, you know, with my daughter. We would fight and fight. So yeah, I think that for women who suffer, you know, their own, I would call depressive states, it is so easy to miss the signs of any abuser, because people that are, you know, that are abusers, they are able to tap into your weak areas.
Yes.
And they know exactly what to say or what to do. So that way they the best thing since sliced bread, right? Yep. And it isn't until us as women, we are so emotional, you know, once we get attached to you, then it's like, you know, we are there for the long haul. So I had to get to a place where I started to really get connected to God. Okay. And once I did, that's when I was able to find peace within myself. That's when I was able to look at the girl in the mirror and start to be happy with the person that I saw. Because until I was able to do that, I was still in a place of accepting whatever you said or did to me, because I wasn't happy with me. So how could I allow somebody to love me for who I am and what I can bring to the table and what I can offer when I didn't love me, and I didn't know what it took to love me and what it took to make me happy, because I wasn't happy.
That's good. That's good. So I was going to ask another question, but I think we're going to stick there for a second. You said that you weren't happy, but you also didn't know how to make yourself happy, right, or how to get to happy. So let's talk for a second, because I think that's a lot, especially in an abusive relationship. You're just so confused. You're so all over the place. Yes. How does a person get to finding what makes them happy again? How do they get there?
So, you know, I am a proponent, you know, for prayer and your spiritual alignment, but I'm also a big proponent for mental counseling, therapy, mental health healing, because, you know, if you are in that type of that type of an abusive relationship, you know, there are some underlying issues that you need to deal with, and you can't do that alone, right? The Bible says that, yeah, you pray and you have faith, but you have to do the work, you know, back to that do the work part, right? And my bishop say all the time that we pray and we lay prostrate before the Lord, and we cry out, Lord, do it, do it, do it. And then we get up and we go sit on the couch and we wait and wait and wait and wait, like, Lord, do it, do it. And God is saying, girl, I'm waiting on you to do something. You know, you have to do something. And so I tell all my clients, I tell anybody when I'm speaking, get some find you a therapist that you love, that you can talk to, because that is where your healing, and that's where you begin to be able to really find somebody that you can confidently talk to and trust and get all of those things out. Like, they help you to go into your subconscious mind and bring all of that stuff up. So it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I was able to connect all of the dots. Like, you know, I was sexually abused from the age of 11 to the age of 13. And then, you know, with not having my dad a part of my life, and like all of those things just compounded on top of each other, you know, really allowed me to kind of go back in time and, for one, forgive all of my, you know, abusers, and then forgive myself. Because when we go through those kind of emotional and physical levels of abuse, we blame ourselves because we feel like it's something we said or something we did or something we should have said or something we should have done, you know, that would have allowed us to get free a lot sooner. So going to counseling really helped me to love myself and really understand who Eboni was as a person, without the titles or without my career or without my degree or without any of those things being attached to it, without being a mother, right? Because sometimes we use that title to define us, but if I didn't have any children or outside of my kids, who am I? Right. So going to counseling really was my saving grace.
And I really love that you're such an advocate for therapy.
Yeah,
because therapy is huge.
Girl, I tell people to go find you a red couch, baby, a blue
and lay on it and talk to somebody.
Yeah,
it really does help us process. So I have a couple things you touched on that you talked about I want to touch on. First of all, let me just go back, real quick question. As a teenager, when you were going through the abuse, did you tell anyone?
No, not at first. I didn't. I tried to hide it because, for one, we lived, so my mom had to have a major back surgery, and she had to live with a family friend to help her through her recovery process. So that was like maybe 2-3 months. And so during that time, I lived with my then boyfriend and his family, and his grandmother and all of his family lived there. And they were aware because they would hear it, you know, they were right downstairs. And because they never did anything about it, I thought, you know, as a teenager, I felt like, well, maybe it is something that I said that was wrong, or maybe I should not have said those words to him, or maybe I should not have cooked that thing for dinner, or maybe I should have came in and changed my son's diaper right away, or something like that. Like anything that caused us to have a physical altercation. Of course, it was from his vantage point, it was my fault. So because nobody in the household would come to my rescue or come to my aid that were older adults, it made me feel like, okay, well, maybe I am in the wrong. And I knew that my mom was going through her recovery process, and I didn't want to burden her with that. So I never said anything to anyone.
Okay. So, of course, we have another topic here: family being aware of abuse and not saying anything.
Yeah.
You kind of talked about that a little bit, about you thinking you kind of blamed yourself. They're hearing it and they're not doing anything about it. So I'm going to just challenge you with this question: what would you say to abusers' families that know about the abuse? That even hear about it or see about it and do nothing about it.
So I know that it is taboo because a lot of times family members feel like, that is such a two-sided coin, right? Because on one side, you have some family who jump in and they come to the aid and they come to the rescue and they beat up the person and do all of these things. And then 3 weeks later, Sally right back with them again, right? So now, you come back on the next altercation and you do the same thing again. And now a month later, she right back with them again. So that cycle continues to repeat itself. So now it's like the little boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
The next time you call, we're not coming, And then I know there are other family members who feel like, you know what, I don't want to get in that. You know what, I ain't saying nothing, I ain't heard nothing, this don't have nothing to do with me, And for those family members, I say that shame on you, because if it was your daughter or your son, I'm sure you wouldn't stand by and allow someone to abuse your own child. Yes. And so, if you are an adult and you know about a teen or even another adult that is suffering in silence, because basically that's what that is. You're suffering in silence. And if you know about it and you're not doing anything or you're not saying anything, then you're just as guilty as the person that is actually throwing the punches, or the person that is actually verbally abusing or mentally abusing or financially abusing that woman or that man. It is incumbent upon us, as we know things, we should do something about it. We should say something. We should try to get that person some help, because you never know when that next encounter could be the last encounter. There are too many women that have died at the hands of their abuser, and it could have been stopped so many times before by family members who just said, oh, well, he's not going to go that far, or, but you never know when that day or when that time is going to happen. So there are many episodes on Snaps, and many newspaper articles of women who have been killed at the hands of their abuser, or they are so physically distorted, because of the amount of physical abuse that, matter of fact, it's this lady here in Chicago who still has to go through several rounds of surgery on her eye because her husband beat her in the face with a hammer and left her for dead. So, and people knew about it, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you know something about a woman or a man, whomever, a child, a teenager being abused or being assaulted, you should say something. Speak up. Even if that person probably is not going to leave, then you should call the domestic violence hotline. You should call the police. You should do something, but don't just stand by and do nothing, because you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution, but you can't be in the middle, right?
Ebony, thank you. Thank you for explaining two sides of that coin, because you really touched on, you expounded it further than I asked, and I love how you said that, to be honest, because it's so true. You touched it beautifully. Shame on you. Speak up.
It is.
You wouldn't want someone to do it to your own child. So
that's right.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to touch on something else that you said a little bit earlier too. It's important to go to therapy even after surviving abuse, because oftentimes, and I shared something like this on my page recently, and someone took offense about it, because the thing is, we have work to do within ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Did we deserve the abuse? No. Did we cause it? No.
No.
No. It's not nothing. It's not our fault. Period. But that doesn't mean we don't have work to do.
Exactly.
You know, within ourselves, because like you shared, having low self-esteem, you know, and I feel I had it myself. And I think that if we work on ourselves, we're able to better gauge what we're willing to accept. You know,
a whole lot faster.
A whole lot faster. So, like someone comes to us now, we're like, no, that's
right.
not gonna work.
No, but I see you
10 miles away.
Right. Don't even cross the street. Stay over there because I already see you, you know.
And that's because we did the work. But I think, you know, people say, oh, it's victim blaming. No, it's just recognizing what is missing or what gaps you need to fill. Or do you get what I'm saying? Like, what is it that we need to do or work on ourselves so we don't repeat the cycle?
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you don't do the work, then you will continue to attract. And you know what? I'm just gonna call a spade right now. And I hope don't any of your listeners get mad at me. So I'm gonna sit up in my chair just in case they come for me. I know I'm big, strong, and tall. But if you don't do the work, then you're going to continue to attract who you are.
Boom.
Period.
Boom.
Period, Pooh. You're going to continue to attract who you are because there is somewhere in you, your chemistry is attaching and attracting that type of person. Because like I said, I had 3 different relationships. Each one of them were abusers. The only common denominator in that story is me.
Period.
I'm the only common denominator. So it's something in me that was sending the signal, the wave, you know, to those type of individuals to say, I'm their type.
Yeah.
So it's not until I do the work and change, right, what you see about me. Because before a person even opens their mouth, you can feel, you know, a certain air and a certain aura about them already. They don't even have to say anything, right? So it was something about me that was sending those signals to say, you type of individual is okay for Eboni, right? But now those type of people don't even approach me because it's something different about who you see and what you see. So you already know, no, she's not going for that next woman, you know.
Because you did the work.
That's right.
Because you did the work. I'm going to create a meme. I'm going to post it on my page. And I'm going to say, do the work.
Yes.
Sign the purpose pusher, period. Because it's true. And I feel like people want to skip. We're going to talk about this now, though. They want to skip the work. It's hard. I kind of say you're crawling through the mud. It hurts. You're bleeding. You're scratching up. It's painful. It hurts. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. But you got to do the work.
You do.
I mean, talk to us a little bit about doing the work.
You're right. I mean, it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. You know, I went to therapy for a whole year, and just to think that, you know, like I said, that was really the first time that I even faced that 11-year-old girl who was sexually abused by someone that my mom entrusted, you know, with me to care for me while she was at work. And I never told my mom that story. Wow. It wasn't until like 5 years ago, actually, that my mom just found out that even happened to me. 5 years ago is when she found out. So, you know, sitting in that chair and having to face all of those memories and all of those stories, and then you have to leave that office where all of that came out, and then go back home alone, you know, with yourself and with your thoughts. I think this is the afraid part of Naked and Afraid, right? When you have to be alone with yourself and with your thoughts, you know, that's where the scariness happens, because all of that stuff is now fresh and it's new. So yes, it is difficult, it is hard, you know, and it won't happen overnight. So I'm going to tell you that right now. If you are thinking that you're going to go to therapy and you're going to go 3 times and they're going to give you this magic pill and this magic potion and you're going to walk out like, I'm free. No, stop right now. That's not going to happen. Even after a year of therapy, some days now, even almost almost 20 years later, I still have my days.
Yes.
You know, healing is not a destination that you're going to just wake up one day and be like, okay, boom, I'm healed. No, it is a consistent daily pattern. It's a journey that you will always be on, just like abusers of drugs and alcohol. Their recovery process is not just one day. They will every day. If you talk to somebody that's been sober, they will tell you every single day they have to say no to the bottle. Every single day. And that's what we have to do when we're going through our healing process. Every day we have to say no to depression. We have to say no to low self-esteem. We have to say no to low self-confidence. We have to say no to all of those negative thoughts in our minds that say, because I was abused, I am always going to be abused. Because I was abused, I can never be in a healthy relationship with somebody that loves me for who I am, and I don't have to camouflage who I am because they're going to see me for my true self, right? So we have to say no to all of those things every single day. Every day that you wake up. So that's what, I would say to somebody about doing the work. That's what doing the work looks like.
That's what doing the work looks like.
Yeah, it's consistent. Yep. Every single day you have your journal, right? Because I think that is very important, because what you write is what you manifest. So when you write it down, you are writing down your goals, your dreams, and your plans. And when you write those things down, then you read them, you see them on a daily basis, and you're writing who it is that you want to manifest in your life. Right? And you're not writing down, I won't never be anything in life. No. Because that's not what you really want for yourself at the core. You're writing down, I am successful. I am healed. I am whole. I am a successful businesswoman. I am a CEO, or whatever it is that you want to be in life. I am a giant, right? I am a goal smasher. All of those things, you're writing those down with your goals and your plans. So that way, every single day, you can look at it and you can pray over it, and that is your journey for the day, right? And I always tell my clients, take every day for the day, right? Because when we're on this healing journey and this recovery process, when we try to think about too far in advance, that's when we get overwhelmed and things get just too chaotic and all the noise begins to start and happen in your mind. But just focus on the day, right? Let today worry about today, and then let tomorrow worry about tomorrow.
What the word says.
Today. That's right. Lord, give me strength to make it through today.
That's good. Take every day for the day.
Yes.
I wrote that one down. That was good to remind our listeners. I want to go back. It's a little bit too far back, but it's a little back. You talked about how doing the work requires you to, sometimes you go home, it's quiet, it's lonely. And I remember after I got divorced, I put the kids to sleep and the house was so quiet because you're used to this other person. And I literally remember sitting on the couch just crying, just learning to sit in the silence, and it pained. It was like someone was literally ripping at me. And I wrote and I encourage people to sit in it. Does it feel good? No, you're not staying there, but you're allowing yourself to feel what you feel. You're getting up, you're wiping your face, and you're moving on. But sometimes, I don't want to feel that, and so I need to get over it really quickly. But if you don't feel it, you won't be able to move forward. So people always have to have something going so that they don't feel alone.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to sit in that feeling and be okay with that. You know what I mean? And so I wrote that down about what you said earlier. If you're going through that and you feel lonely, it is lonely. Because you're used to a different kind of life, and it's so funny too. And having experienced so much abuse throughout your life, you talk about how you kind of get used to the cycle of violence. You know that the arguments, the violence is going to come, what's happening, but then you're gone and you're free. And then there's this life that you don't know.
Exactly.
And it's part of doing the work, accepting where you are and moving forward to where you want to be.
Right. And it's so easy if you don't do the work, it's so easy to go back into that. If you think about people that have been imprisoned and people that have been, incarcerated for an extended period of time, you know, those individuals, they have a term for that, you know, and they say that those individuals will end up back in jail.
Right.
Because they have become so accustomed to life in jail that they don't know anything else. And so that's how we will be if we don't do the work on ourselves. We will find ourselves right back in that, and actually willingly, right? It's not that anybody forced or made us. You will find yourself looking and seeking for someone who will do those same things back to you again, who will victimize you again, because that's what your norm is.
Right.
That's what you are accustomed to. But no, we're coming today to serve notice on the devil, to let him know that we are interrupting the norm. Yes. We are interrupting the norm. Yes. And so, and that's what doing the work is about. It is about interrupting the norm. We are living life in a different way. And just because it's different, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It won't be comfortable in the beginning, but trust me, that's why Romans 8:28 is my favorite scripture, because all things work together for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose. So that means the bad things that I experienced in life, those things work together for my good. God had a plan and he had a purpose for me. And in order for me to be able to help other people heal and overcome, and in order for me to help push your purpose out of you, I had to go through these things so that way I can stand flat-footed and tell you, if I made it and if I can do it, trust me, my sister, you can do it too.
Yes, exactly. So I want you to talk to those who are out maybe and are trying to find their purpose. Like, you know, how would you push this person into their purpose if they're trying to find their voice, they're trying to find their footing, and they don't know what to do?
Right. So first, we start out with just asking individuals, right, what is it that you would do in life if pay or anything like that was not attached to it, right? If it wasn't about money, you know, and like I said, money was not a factor. What is it that you would do? What is that thing that you love doing, that it just comes to you natural? Like for me, solving problems and being the Olivia Pope, that's who I am at the core. Like I can do that in my sleep. And sometimes I do it so subconsciously that my mom sometimes, I'll be talking and, something or somebody will interject in the conversation about something, and automatically my mind shifts and I'm trying to solve their problem. And my mom would say, Olivia, that's not for you to solve. Don't worry about that, Olivia. Go back to, shift and go back to what you was doing, Olivia. So it's that thing that, that creates that burning, that yearning desire in you. So, I have people kind of think about that and start to jot down in their journals, because, journaling is so key and so important. So start to write down what that thing is, right? And then we start to think about, like, okay, so once we know what this thing is, what are some of the environmental things that will prohibit you from being this individual, right? Because we have to look at, as they say in a recovery, the people, the places, and the things, because all of those things play into us being able to effectively walk in our purpose. And then we have to divorce our excuses, right? That's one of my terms. We have to divorce our excuses. In order for you to walk in your purpose, you have to divorce your excuses. Well, I can't do it because my mama said I wasn't gonna be. I can't do it because, I don't have the money. I can't do it because, my daddy, he did this to me. And, I was in a domestic violence relationship and he told me I wasn't gonna never be nobody. Like, all of those things are excuses at the end of the day. So we have to.
Y'all heard her, right?
Yeah, they are, girl. They are excuses. All of those things are excuses. And in one of my workbooks, I have a divorce decree, for you to write down all of your excuses, and you are signing as if you were in court, and it says you against yourself, right? You are divorcing each one of those excuses from your life, from your mind, from your mental state, right? And then we are working on negative Nancy. All of those negative things that you say about yourself, that your mind tell you about yourself, we are working on getting rid of those and replacing those things with positive. So we're writing down a list of all of the things that you think that are negative about yourself, and then we're writing down a list of things that are positive, things that you have actually accomplished in your life, right? For each thing that's negative, we're writing down something that you have accomplished, because then that is a visual to yourself that, hey, I have done some things. I have accomplished some things. So I can't be nothing, or I can't be, this individual who will never accomplish anything, because look, I've accomplished this, and this. So we use things that you have done to combat the things that your mind tell you that you can't do, right? And then after that, we write a plan. We create this action plan, all based on SMART goals. So making sure that they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound, and then I added an extra T, my own special sauce. We're making sure that they're transformational, right? Because goals have to be transformational. We have to see a change.
Yes.
And not just in ourselves, but in our surroundings, right? In our finances, in our business, in our relationships, whatever it is, that our goal is, we want to see something change at the end, right? And then after that, I teach my clients to celebrate. Celebrate, because so many times we are so hard on ourselves. Oh my God, I said I want to lose 15 pounds and I only lost 5. Girl, you lost 5 pounds.
Right.
Celebrate those 5 pounds that you lost. I said that in 6 months I was gonna save $1,000. I only saved $250. Girl, you saved something. It's some people that couldn't save anything because they didn't have nothing to save. So I teach my clients, how to change their focus, right? And instead of looking at what didn't happen, let's celebrate what did, right? And then go back and make sure that the goal that we put the next time is actually realistic. Because maybe based on your budget and so many other things, it wasn't realistic to think that you could save $1,000 in 6 months. Who knows? So we have to look at all of those factors. But yeah, so those are some of the steps and some of the things that I do to help people actually to push them and propel them into their purpose.
I love it. And how do they find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Eboni Montsho Ignites. You can also find me on Instagram, same handle, Eboni Montsho Ignites, or my website, www.ebonimontsho.com.
Okay, Montsho, Montsho, for those that are listening and not watching on YouTube. Montsho. I love it. And I love the word ignite too. Put a little fire up under them.
Yes.
And it's not just writing something down. It's making it extraordinary enough and you see it come to pass. I love it.
Most definitely. I have people to do this exercise called Discovering Your Why. And they have to drill down 5 levels. So if you say you want to do this, then you need to be able to show me 5 reasons why you want to do that thing. And it needs to be 5 reasons for yourself, right? Because there are so many times we have a goal or we have an aspiration to do something, but it's because somebody else planted that seed in us. It's not something that we want to do, but it's because all my aunties were nurses, or all my cousins are all AKAs, and really fit. I probably would fit better with a Delta, but I never even did the research or thought about it because it was already planted that I was going to be an AKA, right? So I help people to really be able to make sure that whatever it is that you are saying is your purpose, you have 5 reasons why you say it is your purpose.
That's good.
That's the thing, right? Because it's those things will be the reason why you stick with it when times get rough. Because we already know times are gonna get rough, right? And so when they do, we need something that'll help keep us in the battle.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I even love the examples you gave. You know, all my family's Delta, so I need to be a Delta. Wait a minute. Everybody went to that college. I needed to.
Exactly.
I mean, how many people live their life like that? What is your purpose? What is your calling? And what are your reasons why? Because you need that stick-to-itness when it gets hard. I'm doing this for a reason. When you get at 3:00 in the morning, because it's your why.
Exactly.
And nobody else is. I love that. So you're an accountability coach.
Yes.
Yes. You are a COO. Did I get that right?
A virtual COO. Yep. So, and I also call that a business success strategist, whatever you want to call it.
Business success strategist. Yes, I love it. I love it. So that's how people can reach you. Okay. Yes. So is there anything else that you want to share with us before we go? I love your vision. I love your passion. I love that you push people. Like literally, I could feel people. I could feel it. Like you just keep pushing them. There's no excuses. There's no reason why you can't.
Girl. Yes, girl. All of my, you know what? All my friends, clients, everybody be like, "Oh, you get on my last nerve." I'm like, "Oh well, like you shouldn't have told me that you wanted to do something in life, because once you told me, that's it. You know,
there's no excuses.
Right? We doing this thing.
That's right.
Voluntarily or involuntarily.
That's right.
Either way, we doing it.
That's right. And you know, Eboni, you could have said, "Well, you know, this happened to me at 11. This happened to me at 14. I was a young mom. I got molested. I was in multiple abusive relationships. I just can't." You know, and when I hear women say, "Are you kidding me? You could flip this whole mountain over and be anything you want to be." There's no excuses.
Right.
And if I'm going to say something before we get off, she said, "Do the work."
Yeah.
She sat up tall and said, "Y'all can come from here if you want, but you got to do the work."
You do.
You got to do the work. So is there anything else you want to share with our listeners? You know, I have a lot of listeners who say they can't subscribe because of the topic of but they listen and they want us to know that they hear us. So what would you say to anybody or who's struggling with their purpose, struggling with a passion, struggling as a child who was molested, struggling having been a teenage mom, or struggling you got so many facets to your story and you still win. There's no excuses. So anyway, tell us.
No excuses. So I would say that being accountable means that you are not accepting anything less than for yourself, right? And so it is time in 2020, like God is calling all of us to be accountable for success in our lives. And everybody defines success differently. You know, for some it may be monetary, it may be materialistic, it may be property. You know, for some it just may be a peace of mind. Whatever success is for you, it is time for you to grab it, right? And the way you grab it it's very simple. There's a simple map to success, right? First, you have to have the right mindset. You know, you have to fix that mindset. Whatever the negative thoughts and things that are going on in your mind, that's what we mean about getting, the help. Right? Go find you a mental health therapist, a counselor, whatever you want to call it, right? That will help you on your journey towards healing and recovery and restoration, because there's a cocktail that you have to take, right? When we are sick and we go to the doctor, sometimes one pill just won't do. They'll give you like 3 different kinds of medicine mixed together and say, take this, and it'll knock it all out, right? So that's what we're doing right now. We're coming up with a cocktail for success. So first we got to get our mindsets together. And that means that we are praying, right? We're fasting, and we are getting the mental therapy that we need. So that way our mindsets can be prepared. Next, we are working on our aspirations. That's what that A stands for, aspiration. And that is figuring out what it is that we're called to do, right? And then deciphering why we feel like we are called to that thing. So that's that 5 levels. We're drilling down those 5 levels on why. And then lastly, that P stands for proper preparation. I tell my kids, don't get ready, stay ready. Because proper preparation, when that meets opportunity, that equals success, right? When the opportunity comes, you can't start to get ready. It's too late. It may pass you by. So you have to already be ready. So prepare yourself now for the person that you foresee yourself in the future, right? And we don't know. God's timing is never our timing. So we may be thinking future means 2021, and for him, future could be tomorrow. So we need to start today preparing our minds, preparing our hearts, right? Because that's part of doing the work. Forgiveness and all of those things, we have to get that stuff out of us so that way we can be the giants that God is calling us to be.
Come
so
on!
Preparation is important, right? Yes. Because we all have a giant in us, right? We all have spiritual gifts. We all have things that we have to do in the kingdom. And I tell everybody, when you reach your purpose point, then you become the purpose pusher, right? You reach that and you pull the next sister. My hashtag is hashtag no sister left behind. We're leaving nobody behind. We taking no hostages. Nobody can be left behind on our watch. So if we are all looking out for one another, then we'll have an army, a tribe of women, right, that are strong, that are courageous, and that are mighty in God.
That's right. Yes, purpose pusher. Yes. I love it. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
This is Miss Eboni, the purpose pusher. I'm going to have her give you her handles one more time. Your website, please.
Yep. So website is www.ebonimontsho.com. That's
Eboni with the I.
Yes, Eboni with an I, EBONI MONTSHO. And on Instagram and Facebook, my handle is the same, Eboni Montsho Ignites, IGNITES. And if you're interested in meeting us, I actually have a 12-city tour that I am doing starting January 11th. The first city that we'll be hitting is Phoenix, Arizona. It's called the Purpose and Passion Tour. God dropped on me, and I was obedient to his will and to his call. 12 months, 12 cities, you got 12 chances to walk in your ultimate divine purpose. So that means you have no excuse not to get your purpose, not to figure out your passion, and to get that action plan, right? So so we'll be in Phoenix, Arizona, January 11th. Check us out, www.purposeandpassiontour.com. I'm sure we're probably coming to a city near you.
Yes, love it. Purposeandpassiontour.com.
Yep.
And see if they're coming to a city near you.
Yes, I'm sure we are. Look, I'm sure we are.
There you go.
And look, if we're not, in November, we'll be in Jamaica, right? So who don't want to find their purpose on the beach? Okay.
Exactly. So. I feel it right now. What'd you say? Hey, you guys, do the work. Do the work so you can get to where you want to be. Do the work. Thank you, Miss Eboni. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to your listeners for listening to this episode. I hope that something was said or done, as they say in the Black Baptist Church. I hope that something was said or done that prick your spirit and your heart to make you want to move to do the work.
Yes. Thank you. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. To Lisa Nicole Alexander with a deeper look. You guys, this lady is a treasure. Go ahead and follow her, connect with her. She does accountability coaching. So if you need someone to keep you accountable and keep working with you to get you on the track you want to go, connect with her, you guys. I'll see you next time, all right? Bye. Bye.